Salut coders, this is Bisky here. In this tutorial, I want to show you single sign-on with Keycloak. We are going to create a Spring project here, and with this Spring project, we are going to have our authorization server, and our Quarkus project, we are going to have also OpenID, whereby our different applications written in different framework connecting to one Keycloak, and the bearer token created in Keycloak is going to be used on different projects which was created in Spring and in Quarkus. And we will show you how to do it, and we can just call it single sign-on. So we can either have different microservices in different frameworks, but using the same bearer token. This is a step-by-step to deep dive into security with Keycloak. I'll show you an example here. A user has to log in to our Keycloak, and this user test@gmail.com is the same user which was created here in our Keycloak. This is the user, and this user also has credentials. So after logging in with this bearer token, we can use this bearer token to access the APIs which were created in Spring and which were created in Quarkus. So this is a greeting. It was for Quarkus, and I can paste the bearer token and I can send request, and I can get a response here. So the same we can do it also in a Spring project. In my Spring project, you can see I have a hello world, and let's open the Spring project that I created. This is the Spring project. The Spring project has started, and the API which I created is this one, hello world. If I send a request here in my, let me put the bearer token in my Spring here API, and I can send request here, and you can get this hello world response. As you can see, this is the response that we are returning here. I will show you step by step how to achieve this, how to do this in Quarkus and Spring. And we are going to have a Keycloak running. You can see this Keycloak is running, and I created a Spring project and a Quarkus project. And how this works, it's going to be easy. So let's deep dive into the single sign-on of different projects created with a different framework connecting to one authorization server, which is Keycloak OpenID. Let's get started. We want to have Keycloak running on our local computer. My Keycloak is running on 9081 and connecting to Postgres, and I just changed the port of Postgres to 9081. Make sure you have Docker running on your local computer, and to access these files, you just need to go to DevOps and Keycloak on Code with Bisq, and the link will be in the description, and you can run this Docker Compose YAML. For me, I use this one for Postgres. I just changed the port from this 9082 to 9081, and it's connecting to this Postgres database, which is running also with the Docker, and this is the username and password. And for my Keycloak, you can see the username that I'm going to use to log into Keycloak is admin is the username, and admin 1234. So let me try to say localhost. I can just say 9081, and so my Keycloak is running on this 9081, and I put a subpath, a path called Keycloak. It's how it was configured. So for you just need to uncomment this line, and the path of your URL is going to be localhost /9081 /Keycloak, like this. And you press enter. After doing this, I can log in with the username and password that you are seeing here. Username is admin and admin 1234, and I can log in. So the Keycloak is running fine. So what I can do, let's just create a new realm. In this realm, I can call it my realm. You can name the realm based on maybe your application, the name of your application. Here I just name it my realm, and I can create it. After creating a realm, I just need to create a client that I'm going to use to log in. So here I can create a client, and I can say app client, it's fine for me. App client, it's fine. And I can click next, and I can click next, and I can save. This client is now fine. So in my room, if you create a user, the user will be added here in the list of users, right? So we first created a client, and we first created a room, my room, and created a client called my app. We are going to use this app client to log in, and here we don't have any user, and I'll just create a user, and the name of a user I'll just say test. The username test@gmail.com, and I just want to email. I want to mark the email is verified because and I'll copy this. A user as a username, the name I can just say test user, and I can create a user. Then we need to create credentials, the password that a user used to log in. I can set a password, and I can say test@1234. Test@1234. Let me remove this temporary, and I can click save. Save password. No thanks. So what we need to do, we want to test to log in this user with a Postman or a Bruno. For me, I use Bruno. So in my Bruno, you put the URL here, localhost 9081, and the subpath here, it's Keycloak. Don't forget to add Keycloak, and put realms, and here the realm name, it's my realm. If you come here, you can see the real name, it's my realm. And the protocol OpenID, this is going to be the same. This is the API for logging in. So here, the client name, it's app client, and it's the one that we created. That's why we created in a client here, which is app-client. So I can do this. It's app-client, and the username is test@gmail, and the password is test@1234, not @12345, and the grant type is the password. Because if you go to our users, we are logging in with the password, so the grant type is going to be password. So let's try to log in and get a bearer token. You can see we have managed to log in with the bearer with these credentials to our Keycloak. How easy is it with Keycloak? Just running that Docker Compose YAML, and you are able to create a user, and a user can log in a faster way. You don't have to worry about managing users. The Keycloak will cater for you. The algorithm used for this, it's catered by Keycloak. So don't worry. It's simple, and as you can see. So what we need to do is that if a user logged in right like this, we want to use this bearer token either in Quarkus project or in Spring project. So we are going to set up this project for you, and we can configure the application to be able to use security, and to be able to use one token that can be used on both microservices. And this technique, you can call it also single sign-on. One bearer token can be used in different microservices, and I will show you how we can use Keycloak as an authorization server, so that one token that we created can be used on multiple services or different applications written in different languages. What a powerful open source identity, Keycloak. So let's go into the creation of a Spring Boot project, and use the same bearer token to log in. So here we need to go to Spring Initializer. In our Spring Initializer, I will choose Java, Maven 3.43, the latest Spring. Here I will just say Keycloak. Here I will just say code with BISC. Spring security. With Keycloak. Here just say the package name, I can call it Keycloak. Spring. So we need to add dependents now. The dependents that we need to add first, let's add Spring Web because we want to test our API, just a hello world, so that we can access a hello world with the bearer token while it's authenticated. And we need to add OAuth 2, this one. We need to add OAuth 2 authorization server, so we can connect to the authorization server, which is Keycloak. So if I have these two dependencies, web and security, I think I'm okay. Let's generate this application and open it. So we have our project opened here. You can see I opened the project. If you go to the dependents, you can see the application. It's running on this, it's using Spring Boot 3.43, and the dependents that were added, we have Spring Boot Starter Web, and there's this one for authorization server. And I think we are okay with this one. You can see these dependents. Let's add another one, which is a Spring Security. Let's add this one, Spring Security, and you can click OK. A Spring Starter Security has been added. Let's create an API called Hello World, and we want to access this API. I will create a new package here, and I can call it API, and I can say new. I just say Hello World API. Since we added Spring Web dependents, we can just say add REST controller here, and we just say add request mapping. It's fine, and I can just say hello world, and in my API I can say public string hello world, and I'll just say return hello world. Here I will make this one a get mapping, like this one. So for me to access this API, I'll just say hello world and get this and get this. So let's try to get if we are able to get this hello world text, and the application is running on port 8080. So what I can do, I'll copy here, and I can come here, and I'll say localhosts at port 8080, and I'll just say hello. You can see here the problem that we have. It's we are having this. It allows us to log in because we added that Spring Security, and for us we don't need to log in this way. We already logged in with our postman, this postman. So we want to use our authorization server as our Keycloak as an authorization server, so that if I send a bearer token to there, I want to use this bearer. So I want to use this bearer token that I created with Keycloak, so that this token is the one that can be used to access the APIs of that Spring Boot project. So to do that, we added this dependency. We added this dependency called authorization server, this one. So we need to configure this authorization server. Here I prefer to use a YAML. So let me just refactor this and say application.yaml. So here I just say Spring. So in our resource server, it's going to be JWT like this, and we want to use issuer, this one, issuer URI. So the issuer URI is of Keycloak. So the URL, it's easy. You can come here to our URL that we used to log in, and you can copy this URL up to my realm here, and you can just come copy this URL and paste it here. So by doing this, our application is now connected to the authorization server of Keycloak. So here we just say hello world. If we do hello world, you can see we are having 401. It means a bearer token is needed. We need to send this bearer token in our request, so that we'll be able to log in to get the hello world. So what we can do, you can come here, we can do an example here. I can just copy here, I can say hello world API, and here it's going to be HTTP and localhost on port 8080. The API is a hello world and it's a get. So if I send this request here, you can see I'm getting 401. So what we need to do, we just need to add an authorization header. Authorization here, we put our bearer token, bearer, like this. And let's log in here. And I'll copy this URL. This bearer, let's copy the access token. After copying the access token, you can put it here and you can send a request. You can see we are getting the word hello world. This is how you can authenticate your APIs with Keycloak in Spring. I will show you how to do it again in Quarkus. So by doing this, it means all the APIs that we have, that we are going to create in this project, they are fully authenticated with the Keycloak by adding this configuration, which is issuer URI. How easy is it to implement? By adding just this URL and the name of your realm, the application is now working fine with security. Now let's create another project, which is a Quarkus project, and we want to do the same like what we did here. Let's create a Quarkus project. Here I can go to quarkus.io. In Quarkus I can do start coding. let me just copy the group that I created here in the Spring Boot. And the artifact here, it's going to be Quarkus. Then we need to add an API like the one that we added. We added Spring Web. Also here in Quarkus, there's also Spring Web. What you can just do, I can just say Spring. Let's look for Quarkus extension for Spring Web API. This one, I can add this one, and we can use the Open ID. For security, we can use Open ID, this one. Quarkus, this verify bearer access tokens to authenticate through authorization code flow. Let's add this one, Open ID connect. So by adding these two, and I can use here, it's easy to add like a Swagger. Open, you can just say Open API. So if you want to test with the Swagger, I can use this small Open API, and I can generate this project for you. So this is our Quarkus project. Let's try to open it, and we can try to run this application. So here in the Quarkus project, you can see we have the greeting controller. So in our resources, okay, we have this application.properties. So let's try to run our Quarkus project. So this Quarkus project, it's now running, and you can see it started the Keycloak version 26.3. And if you go to our Docker, you can see it's a test container for Keycloak that is running there, and it's 57644 is just for testing, because so far we haven't configured our application to use our authorization server. So what you can do, I can go to this. Let's open on this port 8080. You can see this is now a Quarkus project. And if I visit dev UI and go to this Swagger UI, you can see you have the greeting controller. Let's try to run this one. And you can see we can have our hello Spring, but right now we didn't send any bearer token to this one. How do we allow this to be authenticated? So to allow this to be authenticated, we need to add some configurations. Here it's like I'm using application.properties. So what I can do, it's fine. Let's try to use application properties. For me, I prefer YAMLs, and I will show you how to use a YAML in Quarkus project. So here I can just say Quarkus.http .auth.permission. So in the permission, I can say authenticated. I can say path, like this one, paths, and I can say let's authenticate everything like this. And the policy, yeah, I just do this, and I can say policy, it's going to be authenticated. For us to allow our APIs, all of them to be authenticated, we need to add this configuration. Quarkus HTTP auth permission authenticated path means everything must be authenticated. And if you want the public, certain URLs that you want to be accessed publicly, you just do this, you just do the public also. This one was for authenticated, and for public, you just come and paste here. When we are saying authenticated, we just say public, and you specify the URL that you want to be accessed publicly. So for us, we have the Swagger. which you want to access publicly. And also, let's say we have the APIs such as that one start with public. You can do this also. So and here the policy will be permit, which here the policy will be permit. So I want to stop this, and we need to configure, because every time you can see it in our Docker. You can see in our Docker it was starting another container for Keycloak. We need to use the Keycloak that is currently running. So to configure that one, we just need to add an open IDE. So I can just say open, use the Keycloak authorization server. So you just say OIDC, this one, and we want the one for authorization server, which is our authorization server URL. We need to copy to use this one. So this one is the one for the authorization server, and I told you before, you can just come here and you can copy up to my room. Just come here, copy, and you can paste here. So here we put the authorization server URL. Let's put also the client ID. The client ID was app-client, which is this one that we put here, update client. So by doing this, our application is now connecting to the Keycloak that is currently running, and you can see, you will see that it won't create another test container. You can see it's now running and there's no new test container created here. So let's look here into here. Yeah, this is our Keycloak. So we secured all the APIs for greetings. Let's try to execute this one. You can see we are now unauthorized because we have secured all of our APIs here, saying all APIs must be authenticated except this start with Q public. Why start with Q public? If you go here, this API start with Q. So every API start with Q will be allowed, so it will be open. But this one does not start with the Q here, so it means it must be authenticated. And it not start with the public, so it means must be authenticated. This URL, let's just copy the URL and go with it to Postman. So in your Postman, you can create a new API and you can paste this. And in my Postman, this is the local host. If I send a request, I'm still getting 401. I need to add an bearer token. So the bearer token that I'm using is this one. I can execute this one. It expires after 5 minutes. So I will copy this one and go to Postman, and I will paste my bearer token here, and I can click execute, and you can see we can get success hello spring. So if I come back here, I can just say spring with Quarkus, and I can execute again. You can see I can get this response, hello spring with Quarkus. What we did here, we have managed to create, with our configurations, we have managed to connect to our Keycloak server URL in our Spring project and in our Quarkus project. And this is a Quarkus project. And we can use a one Keycloak, one bearer token created in Keycloak on different applications. This was Quarkus, this was Spring. So let's meet on another video tutorial. Salut coders.